Excellency Ambassador Taye Asqassalaase, the President of Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Your Excellency Gianni Infantino, FIFA President, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, CAF President, Your Excellency and our brother from South America, Alejandro Dominguez, Common Board President, Matthias Grafferson, FIFA General Secretary, Excellency CAF Vice Presidents, esteemed members of Executive Committee, our brother Biroon Mosengo Omba, General Secretary of CAF, distinguished members, session presidents and delegates, legends of African football, medias, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ethiopia, a nation where humanity journey began, and a country that holds a special place in the history of African football. It is a profound honor to stand before you today at this moment as 46th Ordinary General Assembly of Confederation of African Football. I extend my heartfelt greetings to each and every one of you and express my deep gratitude for your presence here today. Your attendance signifies a collective commitment to the future of our football, and it is a testament to the strength of our unity as we grow and develop the game on this great continent. Ethiopia has long been a cornerstone of African football, and our nation, along with our esteemed brothers from Sudan, Egypt, and South Africa, laid the foundation for the establishment of CAF, a vision that brought nations together through football and set the stage for what African football is today. This legacy fills us with pride and reminds us of the pivotal role Ethiopia continues to play in the journey of African football. I cannot stand here without paying tribute to the great leaders of African football, Ethiopia's own Mr. Idrinaqqacho Tasemma, a former CAF president whose passion, vision, and tireless dedication transformed the game on our continent. His contributions continue to echo through the halls of CAF and in the hearts of football lovers across the world. We honor his legacy as we look forward to the future of African football with optimism and ambition. Under the outstanding leader of Dr. Patrice Motsepe, CAF has experienced the transformative growth. Initiatives like the African School Football Tournament and the Women's Champions League are not only fostering talent, but also empowering youth across Africa through education, and the African Football League, and of course CAF's executive development programs are helping to enhance professionalism, capacity building, and the overall stature of African football. Together, we are raising the standard of football on this continent and elevating the profile of our beloved African tournament. I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude to FIFA President Gianni Infantino for his steadfast support for African football. Your leadership and commitment have been essential to our progress, and we deeply value the collaborative partnership between CAF and FIFA, which continues to open doors for opportunity for Africans. Ethiopia is a proud football nation with a rich history, includes hosting the African Cup of Nations 3 times and lifting the trophy in 1962. As we celebrate 62 years since that glorious and triumph, I stand before you today to express our unwavering ambition to host African 2029 on our historic land. Our government is fully committed to this vision, with about 11 stadiums under construction across the country. a clear indication of Ethiopia's dedication to bring the pinnacle of African football back to its roots. As a founding member of CAF, our people deserve to once again witness and experience the electric atmosphere of AFCON. So, our government ambition is not only to host African 2029, but also building the nation through football. Before I conclude, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Ethiopian government for facilitating this significant assembly and to CAF for trusting us the responsibility of hosting this historic event. This gathering reflects our shared vision for African football, and I am confident that together we will continue to chart a path toward an even bright future. As you immerse yourself in Ethiopian hospitality, I encourage you to savor our cultural heritage, including our traditional food during your stay. Let us continue working together, united in our love for the game, for the prosperity of African football, and the future of our great country. God bless Ethiopia, God bless Africa, God bless the world. I thank you. Amasagnal.
Thank you. Isaiah, I just have to give him a small token on behalf of CAF. Thank you so much. Can we clap hands for our brother?
Excellency Gianni Infantino, President of FIFA, Excellency Dr. Patrice Motsepe, President of CAF, member of the CAF Executive Committee, the distinguished members of the association, and of course, our celebrated AFCON legends. I'm old enough to remember some of you playing that beautiful football. And ladies and gentlemen, again, a very good morning to all of you. It is indeed my honor and a great pleasure to welcome you to your home country, Ethiopia. We are very much delighted to host this 46th Ordinary Assembly of the Confederation of African Football in Addis Ababa. Your presence here in many ways reflects our shared passion for this beautiful and noble game of football and of our collective aspiration to advancing the sports across Africa. Football makes up Africa's popular sport and is indeed central to preserving and celebrating our collective heritage. It is apparent that in today's world, sport serves as the cornerstone to unite our continent, transcending boundaries and differences. This perfectly aligns with African Union's Agenda 2063, which envisions a unified Africa characterized by a robust cultural identity, shared heritage, and values. It is in this light the government of Ethiopia recognizes and wholeheartedly supports the pivotal role that CAF plays in achieving these aspirations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to expand my sincere gratitude to Dr. Patrice Motsepe, President of CAF, for his exemplary leadership of our continental football governing body. Under his presidency, we have witnessed a remarkable commitment to fostering the sport at all levels and his special focus to cultivating young, dynamic, and promising talent. It is almost becoming a point of certainty in Africa that masters supreme talent in football. Our players are the bedrock of the major football leagues within and outside of the continent. While Africa is yet to bring the World Cup, the CAP, but it would be a remiss of me if I don't recognize South Africa for bringing the World Cup, I believe in 2010, and much appreciation for that. I believe we're crossing our fingers. Many tournaments definitely will flow to Africa again. So it is important to bring the CAP to the home soil. African players continue indeed to be instrumental to the victory of other teams. The president of FIFA, Mr. Gianni Infantino, has often emphasized the key to elevating the sport and nurturing young talent lies in the scaling up of our collective efforts. With this foundational talent in place, African football can thrive and occupy its rightful place on the global stage. I wish, therefore, to reaffirm Ethiopia's unwavering commitment to help forge a legacy that honors our past and paves the way for future triumphs. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Ethiopia is proud of the role we played in the establishment of CAF in 1957. In those years, when our continent was under the yoke of colonization, football serves as a platform for unity and expression of freedom. It was Ato Yidnaqaቸው ተሰማ, as Ethiopian Football Confederation chairman mentioned earlier, Ato Yidnaqaቸው ተሰማ, who served as the president of CAF, driven by the epitome of Pan-Africanism, succeeded to put Africa in its rightful place in FIFA and the World Cup. The enormous love of the game by Ethiopians, you wouldn't believe it. The historic attachment we have with the development of the sports in Africa makes it fitting to have this momentous gathering in Addis Ababa. Even more so, the meeting is perfectly aligned with Ethiopia's bid and aspiration to host the AFCON 2029. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Ethiopia is the second most populous nation in Africa, with 70% of its population under the age of 30 years. Sport makes a significant part of our national plan to harnessing our demographic dividend. We are investing heavily in sports education and in construction of infrastructure, including new stadiums and renovation the existing ones. When given the opportunity to host AFCON, we look forward to creating exceptional experience for teams, fans, and the rest of the sports family and all other stakeholders. I take this opportunity to request CAF to endorse Ethiopia's bid to host this prestigious tournament. Ethiopia, a country of millions of passionate fans of the sport, and a nation that played the foundational role in the development of African football, is eager to showcase its capabilities and contribute to the continued growth of the sport. After half a century of hosting of AFCON, that was indeed a long time ago. I believe many of you are not born. Our bid to host the African Cup in 2029 could not have come at a better time. On that note, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me once again welcome you to Addis Ababa and wish you all a pleasant stay and fruitful and productive deliberation. I thank you.
Once more for the President. And I've been so honored that we have with the President of FIFA, we would like on behalf of African football, the 54 nations whose member associations are part of CAF, to hand you this humble token of our recognition of the good work that you and the government is doing. Can we clap hands again?
Thank you very much. It's always good to clap hands before a speech because you never know what comes at the speech, so thanks, Patrice, for that. Dear President of the beautiful country of Ethiopia, dear CAF President, my brother Patrice, dear President of the Ethiopian Football Federation, my dear brother Isaias, dear friends, brothers, sisters from EXCO, from all the countries present, dear Alejandro Dominguez, President of CONMEBOL and Vice President of FIFA, club representatives, the legends that make our hearts beat, thank you for that, and give us so many emotions. It is always a great pleasure, on top of being an honor, to be speaking to you. Dear President, I came to Addis Ababa yesterday night, and as I said to the Prime Minister already, I was feeling home immediately. So let me start by welcoming you all. Welcome to my home in Addis Ababa, in Ethiopia, in Africa. But I'm sure, dear President, my feeling is the feeling of everyone here. When you come to this country, a country which, as you rightly said, contributed to the creation of CAF and contributes today to the unity of Africa, we all feel home. And looking back, I remember my first trip after being elected President of FIFA was in this region and in this country as well. I even spent my first birthday as FIFA president here in Addis Ababa. My family was not here, but my family was here because I have a big family here in Addis and in Africa. So when we are back here, I think it is always special and particular. And at the beginning, I would like to also remember our President Issa Hayatou was President of CAF for 29 years, Vice President of FIFA, also acting President of FIFA for a few months, just until I was elected FIFA President, who sadly left us a few months ago, but he is definitely always with us. Now, a Congress is always, I believe, an opportunity to think back and to look forward. We've seen some beautiful images earlier of goals, of stadiums in football, women's football, futsal, beach, soccer. The next World Cup will actually be in Seychelles, Beach Soccer World Cup in Africa. And these images are a testimony of how African football has evolved, how it has become stronger, bigger, and better. And I'm very proud of that because, again, if you look back, and as I said, from time to time, it's good to remind ourselves and to remember where we came from and where we are, to be able to know where we are going. We have been focusing in the last years, after having put our house in order with the strongest good governance principles, which go without saying, we have been focusing on 5 football areas, right? The first one is football development. And we have been increasing the forward program, the solidarity program, from $250,000 a year to $2 million a year. And this money is invested by all of you in football development. And you can see that because you know it when you play now the qualifiers of the AFCON or of the World Cup, there is no easy game anymore. Everyone is getting stronger. By the way, congratulations to those who have qualified already for the AFCON last week. We have invested in a talent development scheme. As part of football development, we have invested in refereeing development as part of these investments, and we can see the results at African level, but also of the African teams at global level. The second area is, of course, national team football, and for the first time in less than 2 years from now, in the World Cup 2026, there will be 9 or 10 African countries participating in the World Cup. It was 5 until the last World Cup. We doubled the number of African countries participating in the World Cup, and this is boosting, obviously, football investment and football development all over Africa, when suddenly all of you have a real chance to qualify for the biggest event that exists on earth, which is the FIFA World Cup. We have been investing as well in women's football, for example, as well, by increasing the number of participants. Africa went up from 3 to 4, but it could have been 6, and it can be 6 if we see the latest results of the African teams and African players all over the world. So also they're doubling the number of African participants on the world stage. The fourth area is youth and youth football. We have to invest in our youth. We have to create opportunities, not just in 1 or 2 parts of the world, but all over the world. So we have to start by giving a good example, and as of next year, as you know, we will have yearly World Cups for under 17 girls and boys with increased number of participants. I would like to thank Morocco, who will host the first 5 editions of the Women's Under 17 World Cup, and I encourage all of you to continue investing in youth football, because those kids, those girls, those boys who will play in these youth competitions, in these youth World Cups under 17, well, they will be the stars of tomorrow, and they will make sure that sooner rather than later an African country can win the World Cup as well. Speaking about World Cup, the President mentioned it earlier, the last World Cup on African soil was in 2010. We are all looking forward to the next one, which will be, if everything goes well, of course, at the FIFA Congress on the 11th of December, will be coming back to Africa in 2030. The World Cup will be back in Africa in 2030, in Morocco. Finally, congratulations, yes. And again, this is thanks to the work of all of us, of all of you. And the last area, the fifth area in which we are investing in football is, of course, club football. Club football was at the basis of football. It was born as a national movement. It then became more and more continental as well. And after 150 years of history of football, it's time that club football as well becomes global. Now there are, of course, some voices who would like to keep everything for themselves, who don't like that competitions become global, but we are, FIFA is, you are, inclusive. We are, FIFA is, and you are non-discriminatory. And we want all of you to have a chance to participate also with club football, with the new Club World Cup taking place next year in the United States of America, with 4 African clubs, 4 of the best African clubs. We want all of you to have a chance, and your players to have a chance to shine at the global stage. And of course, it will be a huge success, it will be a huge sporting success, it will be a huge commercial success, and it will contribute again to developing football in Africa and in all corners of the world, because this is our mission. And when I say ours, I say yours. It's the mission of FIFA, it's the mission of CAF, it's the mission of all of us to give opportunities, to give hope, to give chances, to improve and to participate. And you cannot give chances by keeping everything for yourself. And we are lucky that at FIFA this is not the case, and this is also not the case with all 6 confederations. We have the president of CONMEBOL here, and everyone in FIFA, all the confederations from CONMEBOL to CONCACAF to UEFA to CAF to AFC and OFC have agreed unanimously to all of these strategic objectives and strategic items, from the World Cup to the Youth World Cups to the Clubs World Cups, because we are all responsible and we are accountable to you, to the 211 FIFA members. Now, before concluding, let me just mention one more item which should also go without saying, as good governance that I was mentioning at the beginning, but sadly it does not. Speaking about racism and discrimination. Now, you were all present at our last Congress in Bangkok earlier this year. Well, the entire world took a very firm stand against racism in football, against racism in society. But our responsibility is to eradicate racism, and we have approved, you have approved, a 5-pillar plan that we are implementing now to stop racism. I think this is a fundamental fight that we need to win, and that we are winning because we are united. Football unites the world. We have to unite everyone around football, and in football there is no place for discrimination on the field or outside of the field. Dear President, dear friends, I wish you a great Congress. I thank you for having me here with you in my home continent in Africa, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all very soon. Don't forget the 11th of December, FIFA Extraordinary Congress. Thank you. All the best.
Ask our Vice President, Madame Kanizat, to join me in handing a humble token of our appreciation to our President for the work that he's doing, but also for his contributions to the development and growth of African football. Can we clap hands for President?
Make an exchange of banners.
Can we clap hands again?
These are still young kids who still have a bright future.
After we have finished this meeting, when we've done the very...
Il faut forcément que la direction de la protection donne.
The national legislation of Tanzania. So kila pahali yote.
You have to move.
I'm going to confine the remarks that I have to make as president as briefly as possible because a lot of the items are in the document. So if you look at that document, you'll see the excellent work that we have done, all of us, the 54 CAF member associations. And it starts with, if you look over the last 12 months, particularly looking at the AFCON, the most successful AFCON in the history of this competition. Now just think of the AFCON in the following terms. 175 countries, 175 nations worldwide were watching the AFCON Côte d'Ivoire. Our member associations are 54. So there's another approximately 121 nations outside the continent who are following African football, excited about African football, enjoy watching African football. And this reflects the huge amount of progress, that you are making in your countries, because I've said many times, the success of African football is what happens in every one of the 54 nations in Africa. In every one of the 54 nations in Africa, that is the foundation, that is a test, and that's why a lot of focus has to be on that. There were approximately 1.4 billion people worldwide who were watching the AFCON on TV, the highest amount in the history of the competition. I was with President Ouattara. The economy of Côte d'Ivoire benefited to the value of $1.4 billion because of AFCON Côte d'Ivoire. It shows that there's a clear connection between success in football, success in economic growth, and as has always said, football for us is more than what happens on the field of play. Of course, our love and our passion for football has no limits, but we recognize if you see the most successful football clubs, football nations in the world, their economies are strong. The football clubs, the football national teams, the member associations get support from their governments, they get support from the private sector, the leagues are sponsored, the national team is sponsored, and that's why part of the work that we've done is to make sure that whilst I was visiting the 40 countries, to get the private sector more involved. There's been a lot of good progress that has been made, and also to get the governments, many of the African governments, the most successful African countries or African national teams have got support from their governments. It's a huge benefit to have a head of state who's passionate about football, because you cannot build a stadium, you cannot build a lot of the infrastructure for football without the support and the partnership of government. So I'm very, very proud that a lot of good progress has been made, and many of the governments are helping us. One of the problems we have is there are still too many countries in Africa that have to play their football outside their country. You cannot develop football in your nation, in your country, if you've got to play outside. So there's a huge amount of focus to ensure that every one of the 54 nations has got at least one stadium that's at the level of the CAF and FIFA standards. Huge progress has been made, and part of our job is to make sure that our young people in our countries are part of the passion and the growth and the development of football. One other quick area of progress is we've always recognized that we need financial resources. We cannot develop football without financial resources. Together we have doubled the contribution. Our member associations used to get 200,000 per annum, and over the last few years together we've increased it to 400,000. So it is huge progress, but 400,000 is still a small amount. We need much, much more. We need much, much more. And that's why I'm very grateful, Gianni, for the huge contribution, FIFA Forward, and the money that comes from FIFA. We need football in every one of the nations in Africa from all the sources that we can. So you will see that a presentation was made to the CAF Exco yesterday, and the presentation is about the plan to ensure, it's called To Get African Football to Have Revenue of $1 billion. $1 billion over the next 8 years. And what's going to happen is there will be, we're going to open a tender, and we've had lots of discussions with potential sponsors, potential partners, and good progress has been made. We're going to pass an EXCO resolution in the next few days, open a tender, and invite many of the private companies, private enterprises to bid and to be part of this plan in CAF to make sure that in the next 8 years, over the next 8 years, that there's $1 billion that is being made available for football. Every cent of that money must go towards football development. It has to go to investment in the youth. It has to go in investment in academies for boys and girls. And part of the plan is to ensure that if we can get every African nation or every member association to receive $1 million, to receive $1 million every year from CAF starting in 2026, a lot of good progress will have been made. We had a lot of challenges over the last few years, and part of the focus of this new leadership, all of the vice presidents and the CAF EXCO, is to lay a foundation so that the huge benefits of the foundation that we have laid will be realized over the next 2, 3, 4 years. And I must say, we have, as African football, we have a lot to be proud of. We have a lot to identify in terms of the successes that we've made. And we also recognize that we will only really be respected in the world. You've got to win on the field of play. Football is about what happens on the field of play. What happens in those 90 minutes. We've got the president of CONMEBOL. Argentina, that is part of CONMEBOL, is currently the champions of the world. And we've made it very clear that we have confidence that in the not too distant future, an African nation will be champions of the world. And that's why whenever we can clap hands to that. Whenever we give awards, particularly at the AFCON, whenever we hand over trophies, I invite Gianni so that he can get used to giving trophies to African nations, and the African nations and the African clubs, football clubs and national teams can also get used to receiving awards, not just in Africa. Of course, our main focus, we are very proud of our competitions. Our competitions are world-class, and we keep on developing them. But we also recognize that part of our objective is to be the best in the world. What Morocco achieved in 2022 in Qatar fills all of us with a huge amount of pride, with a huge amount of confidence. And there are approximately 10 to 12 nations in Africa, at least 10 to 12 national teams, member association national teams that can challenge and compete at the highest level in the world. And we should keep on supporting, we should keep on working together, and we should keep on encouraging those nations. Two quick issues. Governance and ethics are critically important. Governance and ethics is non-negotiable. Part of the success, part of the respect that CAF has obtained and is continuing to receive is there's a recognition in Africa, there's a recognition in the world that there's zero tolerance. There's zero tolerance for corruption at CAF. There's zero tolerance for bribery. There's zero tolerance for violation and not respecting the CAF and FIFA statutes and regulations. And a huge amount of progress has been made. And I'm very proud of the work that Biroon is doing. I'm very proud of the work that the CAF Secretariat is doing. And I'm also, as I said, proud of the attitude within the EXCO to really enforce this non-negotiable A national team should win because they are the best. There's always been problems about the integrity and the impartiality of referees. I mean, I've always heard this over and over again in the past. You should lose because the next team, the next club, whether it's a national team or whether it's a football club, have been better or have been the best. And I must say, good progress has been made, good progress. But there'll always be challenges. And sometimes we think that the problems of bribery, the problems of corruption is confined to Africa. That is not true. That there are problems all over the world where referees, where there are attempts to influence referees, match commissioners, and now VAR operators in a manner that is unfair and in a manner that reflects lack of independence. So I must say I'm very, very proud and I'm thankful because we are going to continue with that process. Good progress has been made, but you should continue being vigilant. One other quick issue that we should have zero tolerance. And I'm not going to express any comment because I usually, when I sleep, I've got my cell phone next to me. And it's always open because, and particularly we've got 80,000 employees at the mines where I'm the executive chairman of chairman. So I've got to be, and particularly if there's an accident at one of those mines, I've got to know immediately. But of course, I've got lots of other responsibilities. So I keep my phone open throughout the night, and sometimes I get the most, somebody phones me and says that my son has applied for a scholarship from your foundation. We haven't heard from that. So, but it's fine. I don't know where they got my number, but it's okay. There's a reason why the phone is open. Now, let me tell you why I referred to that. It's because when there was this problem with the Nigerian national team in Libya, and I will not comment on that because there's a proper investigation, but I want to emphasize a principle that we will not tolerate because this is something that has been going on for quite some time. Your national team, let me emphasize, forget about the Nigeria and Libya situation because that process has been properly investigated and appropriate action will be taken. Appropriate action will be taken. I've heard too many stories of a football club or a national team goes to a country, you spend hours at the airport and they ask you about documents that don't exist. And apparently during COVID, they would look at who the best players are from your national team and say, those 10 players, they've got COVID. And you say, but we've just been tested. No, they've got COVID. But it's this lack of sportsmanship that has existed and we haven't taken effective action. So I just want to repeat, we are proud of those nations that treats visiting national teams and visiting football clubs with the respect and dignity that they deserve, but also who treat them in the same way they want to be treated when they visit those countries. So I just want to repeat, we're reviewing those laws and we want to emphasize sportsmanship. When a national team from another country visits or a football club visits, treat them with the dignity and respect that they deserve. And if there are violations of those regulations and those rules, we will take action. So I want to conclude once more by saying that a lot of the success and a lot of the achievements of CAF over the last few years has been because of the contributions, the hard work, the sacrifices of many of our member associations. And once more, Gianni, thank you for your support. Thank you for your contribution. There will always be, and Matthias as well, thank you for your support. And I've always emphasized we need partners. We cannot deal with the challenges that confronts football in Africa on our own. And that's why the partnership with FIFA, it's wonderful to have our brother from South America, from CONMEBOL with us. We're making huge progress. Will there be challenges? Yes. There's no enterprise, there's no endeavor, there's no undertaking that doesn't experience problems and at times challenges and at times failures. But the new spirit, the new culture that exists in CAF, and I see it every day. I had a meeting yesterday with the 54 presidents of the 54 countries in Africa that are members of CAF, and the feedback and the advice I got from them gives me confidence and gives me confidence of the future of football. But more importantly, there's a new culture of working together. There's a new culture of respect. There's a new culture of commitment to develop and grow African football. And that commitment gives me confidence that we will continue to do well, and I'm confident we will succeed even more. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.